We all know a creative's office has to be something special. It has to inspire you, it has to be functional, and all the tools and resources for you to work at your best need to be immediately available in order to be the best creative you can be. Owning a media company, I work long hours, and whenever I'm not behind the camera, I'm behind the desk. My level of creativity is directly correlated with how clean and how organized my office is. Any friction that is present between me and my tools takes away from what I can offer clients both commercially and personally. This space is my command center. It needs to be a place of free thinking and focus. Today, I'm going to be going over the different items in my space and how they directly play a role in my creativity and making me more efficient. At the center of the whole office, my entire workflow is dependent on my laptop. If the laptop isn't up to par, it will literally affect how I create content. If the laptop isn't built out how I need it to be, I get choppy playback in DaVinci Resolve and I can't run multiple programs at once. I need to be able to edit 4K 10-bit footage without any hiccups. Now, before I get absolutely roasted for editing on a laptop, let me explain my thought process. My primary objective for having a laptop is for it to be portable. If I want to go edit at a coffee shop or a co-working space, I want the ability to just close it and then go. If I need to create content out of state, which isn't uncommon for me, I can't just pack up a tower and hope that it on the transit doesn't bump into shit and then break itself. As long as the laptop meets my needs, allows me to use multiple monitors if I need to, I'm a happy man. The primary screen is a Samsung 32-inch curved monitor. While it's not as color accurate as I'd like, the curve prevents eye strain after looking at it for extended hours. The screen to the left is flipped vertically because I create reels for businesses and I need to be able to see what these will look like on a larger scale. It's also incredible for listening to my garbage rave music while I work and have Spotify/Discord open. Now, I hate stock monitor stands as they're very limiting, so I'm using a monitor stand from Amazon that allows me to move the screens around. The mouse that I'm using is the Logitech MX Master 3S, and while I have heard great things about it, it's only been about half of my experience. This mouse worked so well for 4 months and I could edit entirely with one hand. This was due to all the different shortcut keys that are on the side of it. All of a sudden, Logitech just had an update and all of my shortcuts for the mouse went out a window. Now every time I navigate the Logitech desktop app, I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get all my shortcuts back. I would go with a trackball mouse for editing, but it wouldn't do very well for games like Ready or Not or Body Cam that I play frequently. This mouse is also so laggy, it makes me want to take a forever nap. The keyboard that I'm using is the Razer Ornata V3. It's the 10 keyless version of the keyboard. I am a huge fan of the 65% keyboards as they are 65% the size of a full-size keyboard. Having a smaller keyboard like this allows my desk to be a little bit more breathable, a little bit more open, and it actually allows me to think more freely because it doesn't look as cluttered or congested on top of my desk. I know it sounds really dumb, but it really helps. I'd even go smaller than this, and I think they have smaller than the 65% ones, but I really like having the arrow keys on my right side so that I can go frame by frame when I'm editing things. Now for music out loud, I am using the Echo Show 5. I've had great experience with the sound quality as well as the touchscreen interface that it has. If you end up getting one of these, I would recommend turning off notifications because if you don't, it will never shut up, and usually it's at 3 a.m. when it decides to tell you about the news. For playing games with friends, I am using a generic mic arm with the Rode PodMic XLR hooked up to a pretty generic XLR interface. I know that I could use a much nicer audio interface, but I'm not a streamer and I don't need a ridiculously high quality audio interface. The desk mat is made by Nordik and I love the minimal and clean look. There is no friction, so gliding your mouse is easy. It's also not felt, so it's easy to wash. I have some generic wood coasters because I love having a drink while I edit content. Currently, I am using a generic standing desk from Amazon. For the price, it's incredible, but it does lack in a lot of areas. I do wish there was more color variety, and one of the biggest flaws about it is the actual piece of wood up on top of the standing desk is actually split into 2 pieces of wood. So if you ever had a triple monitor setup or just a heavier monitor, it's not going to be nearly as durable as if the whole desktop was just one solid piece of board. I don't know why the company did that. It's ultra stupid if you ask me. But let's talk about standing desks versus normal desks for a second. If you work at a desk for more than 2 hours a day and you're not getting a standing desk, I feel bad for you. These things are game changers. People may not think it's actually worth the money to get into a standing desk, and then you get a standing desk and you're like, I should have done this like years ago. Moving away from the desk, let's talk a little bit about lighting. Being a videographer and YouTuber, I hate using the big main light. There is no personality and it doesn't inspire creativity whatsoever. I use the Amaran 300C on a C-stand as my main light at 4000 Kelvin, usually as I love the warm look that it gives skin tones. I usually have it on a lantern as I love the soft way that it spreads the light across the room. I also complement this in my backdrop using the Amaran PT4Cs. Using all Amaran lets me use the Sidus Link app to control every aspect of my lighting. Now, just to my right, I have my toolbox full of equipment that I take with me to my content days for different businesses on a weekly basis. This holds things like mics and batteries and miscellaneous screws and things. They're like $80, and that way you don't have to drop what feels like an entire 401k just on one Pelican case. Now, moving over to my charging wall over here, I wanted to put up things that I needed to grab on a moment's notice, things like batteries, drones, GoPros, things like that. Now, the left pegboard is like the charging pegboard, so I've got a power strip right there at the bottom, and it allows me to charge everything in a way that doesn't look like I have 19 million wires sticking out of a plug socket that's just chilling on the ground. Because before the pegboard, I just had like a power strip on the ground that had like 90 spaghetti looking wires that just went everywhere, and it was like such a mess to even look at. Now I know if it needs to be charged or it's done charging, it's probably on that wall. Now, this specific pegboard is from IKEA, but if I could go back in time, I would get an all metal pegboard, and then that way on things like the chargers back there, instead of having bungee hold it to the pegboard itself, you can just like hot glue some magnets to it. That way, if you ever travel, you can just unstick it, put it in your bag, blah, 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 come back, put it back onto the pegboard, but bungee worked too, I guess. To the side of the pegboard, I have a Husky tool bench. It is the greatest $300 I have ever spent. It holds tools in a very organized way, and I can roll it around the office and use it for product reviews and unboxings. Now, on top of the tool bench is one of my favorite parts of the entire office. This is the Bamboo Labs X1 Carbon 3D printer. Having a 3D printer as a creative, in my opinion, is an absolute must. If anything breaks or you need a super custom part to be made, you can just do it. You can literally have a part made in like an hour sometimes. Not to mention, you don't need a science degree in order to use one. I'm actually going to be making another video about that printer specifically and how it fits into my life as a creative. This one was provided by RedWolf Technologies out of Lehi, Utah. Now, I was actually in the 3D printing space a little bit before I went into video. I had experienced several different brands and communicating back and forth with them, and some of them were like trying to pull a nail out of my foot. If I ever needed product help, if I needed replacement parts, or really anything, you want a company that's going to respond quickly to you and that is fairly close to you. RedWolf Technologies has been an absolute breeze to work with. I also want to thank them for being the sponsor of today's video. Now, the overarching goal of this entire space was to have everything that I needed, but that's also just the thing. I needed it to have everything that I needed and nothing that I didn't. If it doesn't add immediate value, I don't want it in the space. A good rule of thumb that I like to live by is if it doesn't add immediate value to me in 30 days, it's out of my immediate vicinity. Every single tool in here is going to be used, and if it's not a tool, it's probably a piece of art that either inspires me or adds immense sentimental value to the space. I don't want clutter. I could put probably like another Husky bench here, have some more storage and like some other things here and there, but I want the space to be open and breathable. The moment that my space feels congested in any type of way, my mind literally closes off and I don't feel as free in here. There will be a link in the description where you can find most of these things. You will also find the information for the amazing people at RedWolf Technology. Please shoot them a message if you have any questions about how 3D printing can benefit your life as a creative. Thank you so much for watching, guys.